Hey guys, welcome back to Pepper Geek. Today we're going to go over our favorite varieties of peppers that we grew this year.
Yep, we grew around 45 different pepper varieties this year, and we've chosen 6 of our very favorites, and we'll include a couple honorable mentions at the end. Before we get started, if you want to see some of the 40 some odd other varieties that we grew, check us out on Instagram at Pepper Geek. We're trying to post at least one picture of all the varieties we grew, so if you're interested, go follow us at Pepper Geek.
So first on our list of favorite peppers this year is the Brazilian starfish pepper. So this Bacatum variety pepper from Brazil really surprised us with how prolific it was. We got about 50 peppers off one single plant. Flavor-wise, this pepper definitely is not our favorite. It's not necessarily a bad flavor pepper, but we really enjoyed growing it for the ornamental properties. It's just a really cool starfish-shaped pepper. The pods are beautiful. We grew both the red and yellow varieties.
One thing I'll add is that with most of the Bacatum varieties, the stems can be quite whimsical. Look at this. I mean, it's like 2.5 inches long and kind of curled. Another cool factor on those peppers. Next up is the King Star White Thai. This is a really cool chili type pepper variety. We traded to get these seeds. You can't actually buy any of King Star's varieties, so you have to sort of get involved with the community. So that makes growing these interesting to begin with. You sort of have to scavenge for seeds and trade your way to get some. But we were also impressed with the great flavor of these peppers. They're sort of earthy and vegetal, but they also have some sweetness and a really good chili type flavor. And on top of that, they start out this whitish color, and when the pods are exposed to sunlight, they turn sort of a purplish. And on the other side of the pepper, you can see it's white where it wasn't exposed to the sun, so that's cool. And then they ripen through to an orangey red.
Yeah, these are great. We used them in a lot of stir-fry dishes and mixed them up into some recipes this year.
It's nice. You'll have some peppers ripening, and then you'll have peppers just starting to form, so you have this sort of constant flow of ripe peppers coming off the plants. Just a nice variety overall.
And of course, it would not be our list of favorite peppers this year if we did not include the Sugar Rush Stripey Pepper. This Bacatum variety from Fatali Seeds ended up being one of the coolest peppers that we grew this year. We did just put out a video all about it if you want to learn more. So not only do these peppers look awesome, but they actually taste really good too. We enjoy these pickled or even just thrown on cheese and crackers, or you can put them in a stir-fry dish for some added heat. So heat-wise, these are on par with a cayenne pepper, so they're not too crazy. So the one thing with these peppers is that they took a very long time to ripen. Our first ripe Sugar Rush Stripe Pepper came about 6 months after planting from seed. So even though these guys take a long time to mature, they're absolutely incredible and delicious, and we highly recommend that you guys grow them.
Next up is the 7-Pot Primo Orange. We don't actually have any peppers right now from this plant. Most of them ripened really early in the season, and that was one of the great aspects of this plant. It was one of the first to produce ripe peppers, and it was very prolific. But in addition to that, the flavor was out of this world. It just tasted so good. No floralness, no bitterness, just this beautiful citrusy fruitiness and a good amount of heat. It's a Chinen species pepper, and it's supposed to be the orange variety of the 7-Pot Primo, which is a red pepper, but it's much milder than a 7-Pot Primo, and so it's a lot easier to use. You know, you can just make a hot sauce or cook with it without fumigating your entire kitchen.
Next up on our list is probably my favorite pepper that we grew this year, the Ahi Charapita. So these little berry size peppers are absolutely delicious. We ended up dehydrating a bunch and making delicious powder and using it in a bunch of recipes, and they're awesome just to snack on. You know, you can just
We're eating one? I guess not, huh?
Yeah, that just went right back. Anyway, they're great to snack on.
They're like little firecrackers, you know?
Oh.
Just a little slap of heat.
They're super tasty, and on top of that, the plant is absolutely beautiful. So this Chinense variety is from Peru, and it's actually commonly used in the kitchen, so a lot of people keep them as houseplants. We'll definitely be growing this again next year. So I think this pepper is probably my favorite this year, where last year was the Snow White Habanero, and it almost has a similar flavor, doesn't it?
It does. And this was another plant that had ripe and unripe pods constantly going, so you constantly had a supply of ripe peppers.
Yeah, it was very prolific, and I had a lot of fun just sitting there and harvesting a whole bunch of them. And
it was a cool note that people in Peru use these fresh, so they'll make a soup or a stew, and then they'll crush them with the back of their spoons and then throw them in right before eating. So last but not least, the Purple Reaper. This is the hottest pepper, in my opinion, that we grew this year. We also did grow the normal Carolina Reaper, but this one just had an amazing, ferocious heat to it. And on top of that, the plant was a lot more interesting to watch grow. It was huge. It was the largest plant we had in the ground, and it just kept pumping out peppers. They start off as almost black and purple, and then they start to transition out of that into this deep, rich red color. Most of these peppers had the stinger on the end. As you can see, all 5 of these have stingers. And I would say they're even bigger than the normal Carolina Reaper. So I think this is the new Reaper to be growing. If you're interested in growing really hot peppers, this one's a winner.
Also worth mentioning is that this pepper has really dark, beautiful foliage that looks great in the garden. It really stands out against the green as well as the color of the peppers.
With that, we have a couple of honorable mentions.
Whoa, where did those come from?
So these didn't quite make the top 6, but they're very cool varieties, and we just want to go over them. This is another Baccatum species. This is the Ahi Amarillo. It produces these beautiful, huge peppers. I wasn't expecting them to be this big. They're like 4 or 5 inches long. It's like a gigantic jalapeno, if you will.
So these guys have a manageable level of heat. You could stuff them, you could pickle them, you could stir fry them. Good replacement for bell pepper or jalapeno in some recipes.
Similar to the other Baccatum species in terms of flavor and crunch and sweetness, but it didn't produce as many peppers, and the peppers took a lot longer to ripen, just like most Baccatum species. And lastly, we have another superhot. This is the Death Spiral pepper. We didn't get these into very large pots, but they produced pretty well anyway. Each of our plants produced maybe a dozen or more ripe peppers, and they just have a really awesome shape to them. They have this wrinkly texture and crinkly skin surface. Really tasty as well, not too floral and sort of fruity like the Caribbean hot peppers. A really fun variety to grow. I think we might try to get another big plant out of those next year.
They're gnarly looking.
Yeah.
I think the word you're looking for is gnarly.
Gnarly.
Where do those land on the scoves?
I don't know. I would probably say 1 million. You know, it's like a ghost pepper.
Yeah.
Really hot.
So that's all. These are our favorite varieties of 2021. And we are so excited to start next year's growing season. We're already planning our garden and which varieties we're going to grow. If you have any recommendations, be sure to leave a comment below.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. But not as hot as these. These are hot.